Hello everyone. Thanks for watching, subscribe, and let's go.
The heat in Houston does not just make you sweat, it owns you. It's a heavy, wet blanket that settles over the city in May and does not lift until October. Outside my window, the air shimmered off the asphalt, the thermometer pushing past 102 degrees with 90% humidity. But inside my office, the air was crisp, dry, and set to a permanent 68 degrees. I lived in a golden cage. It was a 4-bedroom, 3-bath new build in a gated community just outside the Loop. The kind of place with manicured St. Augustine grass and strict HOA letters if your trash can stays out an hour too long. I sat in my ergonomic chair, the hum of my custom-built PC tower the only sound in the room. 3 monitors wrapped around me like a shield. On the left, raw code cascaded down a terminal window, a patch I was writing for a cybersecurity firm in Austin. On the right, the terrifying reality of our finances, the amortization schedule of our mortgage. I was pulling 12-hour shifts, billing hourly, just to keep the lights on and the pool blue. I was in the zone, that flow state where the world disappears and it's just logic and syntax, when the door swung open. No knock. It was never a knock with Amy. "Nick, it feels like a mausoleum in here," she sighed, leaning against the doorframe. Amy was beautiful. That was the first thing everyone noticed, and she made sure of it. She was wearing a new bikini, something bright teal that cost more than my first car, and holding a glass of Chardonnay. The condensation on the glass dripped onto her perfectly manicured fingers. It was 1 p.m. on a Tuesday. "It's efficient," I said, not looking away from the center screen. "Computers run better in the cold." "So do I." "Well, I'm bored," she whined, walking over and spinning my chair so I had to look at her. "The girls canceled brunch, and this heat is making me crazy. I feel trapped, Nick." Trapped. She did not work. She did not clean. We had a service for that. Her biggest stress was deciding between Pilates or yoga. "I'm sorry, babe," I said, rubbing my temples. "I have a deadline. If I do not push this update by 5, we do not get the bonus. And we need the bonus for the property tax bill." She rolled her eyes, taking a sip of wine. "You're always working. You're like a robot." Anyway, I invited Mark over. He said he'd help prep the backyard for the neighborhood thing tonight, since you're busy being Elon Musk. Mark. My best friend since college. The guy was the opposite of me. I was back-end code. Mark was the glossy user interface. He was in sales, drove a lifted Chevy Silverado that had never seen dirt, and always had a tan. "Mark's coming early?" I asked. "He's already here," she smiled, pointing toward the window. I looked out. Mark's truck was in the driveway. He was already in the backyard, shirtless, skimming leaves out of the pool. He looked up, saw me in the window, and gave a big, exaggerated wave and a thumbs up. "Hey, relax, buddy!" I could hear his muffled voice through the double-paned glass. "I got this. You keep typing." I watched Amy's face. She was not looking at me. She was looking past me, down at the pool. Her expression shifted. The boredom vanished, replaced by a spark, a brightness I had not seen directed at me in years. "He's such a good friend," she said softly, her voice trailing off. "I'll go make him some iced tea. Do not work too hard, Nick." She turned and left, her hips swaying a little more than necessary. I turned back to my screens. I was not jealous. Jealousy is an irrational emotion, a bug in the system. Mark was my brother. Amy was my wife. I trusted the architecture of my life. That was my first fatal error. By 7 p.m., the sun had started to dip, but the heat remained, radiating up from the concrete patio. Our backyard had transformed into the neighborhood hub, The smell was quintessential Texas suburbia. Burning charcoal, slow-cooked brisket, chlorine, and expensive perfume masking the scent of insect repellent. I stood by the sliding glass door, holding a Shiner Bock I had not taken a sip of yet. I was talking to Dave, the guy from 2 houses down who wanted to complain about the school district's rezoning plans. "I'm telling you, Nick, property values are going to take a hit," Dave droned on. "I've run the numbers, Dave. We're fine," I said automatically, my eyes scanning the crowd. The music was loud, some generic top 40 playlist Mark had curated. The pool was full, and right in the center of it were Amy and Mark. They were playing volleyball with a group of neighbors, but it felt like they were the only 2 people in the water. They were glowing. Mark was loud, splashing, making everyone laugh. Amy was shrieking with delight, her wet hair plastered to her shoulders. I watched them. I analyzed the data coming in. Amy went up for a spike, missed, and fell back into the water with a splash. She did not surface immediately. Mark dove under. A second later, they both popped up, sputtering and laughing. Mark had his arm around her waist, supporting her. "Gotcha," I heard him say. It was innocent enough on the surface. He was helping her up. But then, time seemed to slow down. Amy did not pull away. She steadied herself, her hand landing on his wet, bare shoulder. Her fingers did not just rest there. They squeezed, a subtle, possessive grip. Her thumb brushed against his collarbone. It lasted maybe 2 seconds, a blink of an eye for anyone else. But for me, it was a glitch in the matrix. She looked at him. Her eyes were wide, pupils dilated despite the bright patio lights. Her lips parted slightly. It was not the look of a woman being helped by her husband's buddy. It was the look of a hungry animal staring at a meal. Mark whispered something in her ear. She threw her head back and laughed, a throaty, genuine sound I had not heard in the house in months. Then, she splashed water in his face, breaking the tension, and swam away. "You lucky son of a gun," Dave said, following my gaze. "Amy looks great tonight." "Yeah," I said, my voice flat. "She does." A cold knot formed in my stomach, right behind my navel. It was not panic. It was the cold realization of a system failure. I did not make a scene. I did not throw my beer. I just switched processing modes. I went from husband to admin. I started logging interactions. The way he refilled her drink without asking. The way she touched her hair every time he looked at her. The way they stood just a little too close when they got out of the pool to dry off. The party wound down around midnight. Neighbors stumbled home. Mark clapped me on the back, his skin smelling of chlorine and my wife's sunscreen. "Great night, brother. We got to do this again next week," Mark said, grinning. "Absolutely," I said. I looked him dead in the eye. "Drive safe, Mark." He did not notice the lack of warmth in my voice. He was too drunk on tequila and adrenaline. Amy went straight to bed without cleaning up, claiming a headache. I stayed up. I cleaned the entire backyard alone, throwing away red Solo cups and extinguishing the tiki torches. I needed the order. I needed to prepare for the audit. Monday morning hit me like a denial of service attack. A throbbing headache and the glare of the morning sun. Amy was still asleep, blackout curtains drawn tight. I was in the kitchen making coffee when my phone buzzed on the granite countertop. It was a notification from the Ring app, but not my app. It was a shared clip from Mrs. Gable across the street. Mrs. Gable was 75, lived alone, and had her sensitivity settings turned up to paranoid. She constantly accidentally shared videos to the Neighborhood Watch group chat instead of sending them to the police. The caption read, "Suspicious person near the Miller's driveway at 2 a.m. The Millers. That was us. I frowned, taking a sip of black coffee. 2 a.m. The party ended at midnight. I tapped the video. The grainy black and white night vision flickered to life. The angle was from across the street, looking directly at my driveway. The motion sensor light on my garage clicked on, flooding the concrete with white light. A figure stepped out from the side of my garage, trying to stay in the shadows of the crepe myrtle bushes. It was Mark. I recognized the silhouette, the way he walked. He was not leaving the party. He was lingering. He pulled his phone out, typed something, and looked up at the second floor, our bedroom window. Then, the side door of the garage opened, just a crack. An arm reached out, a slender, feminine arm. Amy. She did not step out fully. She just reached out, grabbed the front of Mark's shirt, and yanked him into the doorway. But before he disappeared inside, he stopped her. He leaned in, and they kissed. It was not a peck. It was messy, desperate, and hungry. His hands went to her waist, sliding down lower than they ever should. Her hands were in his hair. They were devouring each other right there under the floodlight, bold as hell, fueled by alcohol and entitlement. Then he pulled away, checked the street, and she slipped back inside. He jogged to his truck, which he must have parked down the block, out of sight. I stared at the phone. The coffee in my mouth turned to ash. I did not scream. I did not run upstairs to wake her up. That's what a weak man would do. A weak man reacts. A strong man responds. I walked quietly to my office and locked the door. I sat down at my terminal. The emotional part of my brain wanted to vomit, but the logical part, the part that made me a damn good engineer, took over. Objective: gather intel. I logged into our family cloud account. I pulled up the metadata. I cross-referenced Amy's location history. She and Mark had started running together 3 months ago. Training for a 5K, she had said. I opened the fitness app data. May 12th. Run started, 6:30 p.m. Distance, 12 miles. Pace, 8 minutes per mile. Stop, 6:42 p.m. Resume, 8:15 p.m. Run ended, 8:30 p.m. There was a 90-minute gap every Tuesday and Thursday. They would run a mile to the park, pause the trackers, and do whatever they did, then run back. I checked the GPS coordinates of the pause locations. They were not at the park. They were in a cul-de-sac 2 streets over where new houses were being framed. Construction sites. Empty. Private. Then I went to the messages. She was smart enough to delete them, but not smart enough to clear the recently deleted folder in the cloud backup. Mark, he has no idea. You looked so hot in the pool. Amy, I wanted to drown you right there. God, he's so boring, Mark. I need a real man. Mark, soon, babe. Just keep him paying the bills a little longer. The rage hit me then. It was not hot. It was absolute zero. It froze my veins. Keep him paying the bills. Access denied, I whispered to the empty room. I spent the next 3 hours performing a forensic audit on my own life. It was worse than I thought. Much worse. I pulled the credit card statements. The joint account was hemorrhaging money. Victoria's Secret, $400. The Houstonian Hotel and Spa, $850. 3 charges. Cash withdrawals, $2,000. She was not just cheating on me. She was financing the affair with my money. She was buying lingerie for him. She was paying for the hotel rooms. I looked at the mortgage. We had equity, thank God, But with her spending, we were months away from dipping into savings I had set aside for taxes. I picked up the phone. I did not call a lawyer yet. I called Jim, a high-volume realtor I knew from a networking group. "Jim, it's Nick Miller." "Nick, how's the tech world? You ready to upgrade to a bigger place?" "I'm selling, Jim. The house. Everything." "Oh, relocating?" "Something like that. I need a cash buyer. Investors only. I do not want open houses. I want it gone. Can you move it in 7 days?" Jim paused. He heard the tone in my voice. "The market is hot, Nick. If you price it aggressively, I can have an offer on the table by Wednesday." "But does Amy know?" "Just draft the papers, Jim. Send them to my secure email." I hung up. I spent the rest of the afternoon moving assets. I opened a new individual bank account. I transferred my direct deposit. I moved half the joint savings, exactly half because I followed the law, to the new account. I froze the credit cards. At 6 p.m., Amy came downstairs. She looked fresh, showered, wearing yoga pants and a tank top. "Hey," she said, opening the fridge. "I'm going to make a salad. Are you hungry?" She walked over and kissed me on the cheek. Her lips felt like ice. "I'm fine," I said, not looking up from my iPad. "I have a massive project appointment tonight. I'll be in the office all night. Do not wait up." "Okay," she shrugged, seemingly relieved. "I might watch a movie in the bedroom then." "You do that." I went into my office and put on my noise-canceling headphones. I did not play music. I just turned on the noise cancellation to silence the world. Through the crack in the door, I saw the light from the hallway. I heard her giggle on the phone around 9 p.m. Let her laugh, I thought. Let her enjoy the movie. It was the last night she'd spend in this house. Tuesday morning, the day of the run. I took the day off. I waited until Amy went into the master bath for her morning routine, a 45-minute process. As soon as I heard the shower start, I moved. I did not pack her clothes nicely. I went to the garage and grabbed 4 massive suitcases we used for international travel. I dragged them into the bedroom. I opened her closet. I grabbed armfuls of clothes, hangers and all, and shoved them into the bags. Silk blouses, yoga pants, that damn teal bikini. I swept her vanity clean into a gym bag. Lotions, perfumes, jewelry. I did not check what went where. I just cleared the cash. I dragged the suitcases downstairs and lined them up by the front door like soldiers. I sat on the sofa in the living room. I connected my laptop to the massive 75-inch OLED TV mounted on the wall. I pulled up the image. The freeze frame from Mrs. Gable's Ring camera. The kiss. I waited. 20 minutes later, Amy came down the stairs, wrapped in a towel, her hair in a turban. "Nick, what are you doing home? And whose suitcases are—" She stopped at the bottom of the stairs. She saw the bags. Then she looked at the TV. The color drained from her face so fast, I thought she was going to faint. She looked at the screen, then at me, then back at the screen. "Nick," she whispered. Her voice trembled. That's not what it looks like." I sat perfectly still, my hands folded in my lap. "It looks like you grabbing my best friend and pulling him into my garage at 2 a.m. "We were just talking." "I was comforting him. He's going through a hard time." I clicked a button on my laptop. The screen changed. It was a spreadsheet. A timeline of their runs matched with GPS data and the text messages. "He's so boring, Mark. I need a real man." The text was blown up in size 72 font on the screen. She froze. The denial died in her throat. She realized there was no spinning this. "You hacked my phone?" she screeched, suddenly on the offensive. "You invaded my privacy? This is illegal, Nick." I stood up. I walked over to the coffee table and picked up an envelope. "The house is sold," I said. My voice was calm, almost bored. "The closing is next Tuesday. The credit cards are frozen as of this morning. The joint account is closed." You cannot do that," she stammered. Tears were starting now, angry, scared tears. "I just did. You have 10 minutes to get dressed and get out. If you're not out that door, I'm calling the sheriff's department to have you removed for trespassing. The deed is in my name, Amy. Remember? You did not want your credit score to hurt the rate." "But where will I go?" she cried, clutching the towel. "This is my home." "Not anymore. Go to a hotel. Use the money you did not spend on Mark. Or better yet," I pointed at the door, "go to him. He's a real man, right? Let him pay your bills." She stared at me with pure hatred. "You are a cold, heartless bastard." "I'm a pragmatist, Amy. Clock's ticking. 8 minutes. I stood on the porch and watched her drag the suitcases down the driveway. It was 95 degrees already. She was sweating, her mascara running, struggling with the heavy bags. I did not lift a finger. She stopped at the end of the driveway and pulled out her phone. She was screaming into it. "He threw me out! He knows everything!" "I'm coming to you, baby. Pick me up." I leaned against the door frame, arms crossed. She waited. And waited. An Uber finally pulled up, a beat-up Toyota Corolla. The driver looked annoyed as she shoved the bags into the trunk. She turned to me one last time before getting in. "You're going to regret this, Nick. Mark loves me. We're going to be happy, and you're going to be alone with your stupid computers." She slammed the car door. I did not wait. I walked to my truck. I needed to pick up some tools from Mark's place anyway, my power drill he'd borrowed 3 months ago. I figured I'd get a front row seat to the happy reunion. I parked down the street from Mark's rental house, a duplex with peeling paint. I watched the Uber pull up. Amy got out. She looked triumphant. She dragged her bags to his door and started pounding on it. Mark opened the door. He was not wearing a shirt. He looked hungover. I rolled down my window to hear. The air was thick and still, carrying sound perfectly. "Baby," Amy cried, trying to hug him. "He kicked me out, but it's okay. We do not have to hide anymore." Mark did not hug her back. He took a step back, blocking the doorway with his body. He looked at the suitcases. Then he looked at her face. The panic set in on his features. Whoa, Amy. What the hell is this?" Mark asked, his voice harsh. "He knows, Mark. He sold the house. I'm here. I'm yours." Mark laughed. It was a cruel, barking sound. "Mine? Amy, are you crazy? I can barely pay my rent. I'm not looking for a roommate, especially not a high-maintenance one." Amy froze. "But you said you loved me. You said Nick was boring." "Nick is my meal ticket for football tickets and free beer," Mark sneered. "And you were fun. Easy. But I'm not marrying you, Amy. Jesus, look at you. You're a mess." "Mark?" She sounded small, broken. "Go home to your mom, Amy. You are not staying here." He grabbed the door handle. "Mark, please. I have nowhere to go." "Not my problem." He slammed the door. The sound echoed through the neighborhood. Amy stood there on the cracked concrete porch, staring at the peeling paint of the door. The Uber had already driven away. I watched for a moment. I should have felt pity. I felt nothing. Just the satisfaction of a hypothesis confirmed. I started the truck and drove away without collecting my drill. It was a small price to pay. The sun was setting, painting the Texas sky in bruised purples and oranges. I was back at the house, packing the last of my electronics. The house echoed. It was mostly empty now. There was a knock at the door. Not the aggressive pounding from earlier. A weak, tentative knock. I pulled up the Ring app on my phone. It was Amy. She was sitting on her suitcases on the front porch. Her makeup was gone. Her hair was frizzy from the humidity. She looked 10 years older. "Nick," she sobbed into the camera. "Nick, please. I'm sorry. He's a monster. I made a mistake. Please, let me come in, just for tonight. I'll make it right. I love you." I looked at the screen. I saw the fear in her eyes, the realization that the world is a cold, hard place when you do not have a provider to shield you from it. I did not walk to the door. I pressed the microphone button on the app. "I called your mother in Oklahoma," I said through the speaker. My voice came out tinny and robotic on the porch. "She's on her way. She'll be here in 2 hours." "Nick, please. It's hot out here. Open the door." "You have water in the hose on the side of the house," I said. "Goodbye, Amy." I disconnected the feed. I finished packing my truck. I did a final sweep of the house. It was just drywall and lumber now. The memories were deleted. 2 hours later, a rusted minivan pulled up. Amy's mother, a stern woman who never liked me because I was not a doctor, got out. She did not look at the house. She just popped the trunk. Amy loaded her bags in silence. She looked back at the house one last time, hoping to see me in the window. I was not there. I was in my truck, the engine idling. As they pulled away, heading north toward the highway and a life of mediocrity in Oklahoma, I put the truck in gear. I turned onto the main road. I rolled down the windows. The night air was rushing in, warm and heavy. But for the first time in years, I could breathe. The phone buzzed, a text from the realtor. "Contract signed. Money hits your account tomorrow." I tossed the phone onto the passenger seat. I cranked up the radio, some classic ZZ Top. I hit the gas, leaving the suburbs, the fake grass, and the lies in the rearview mirror. System reboot complete. Operating at 100% efficiency. And that's where today's story ends. Thank you for watching to the end. If you enjoyed it, do not forget to like and comment. We'd love to discuss this story with you. See you in the next video.